After a super exhausting day, sinking into that warm bath felt like absolute heaven. She closed her eyes, lost in the music, just letting her body relax, having no clue that this peace was about to turn into a nightmare. Suddenly, the water rippled, and rising up from under her feet was a pale, terrifying face. Those huge, dead eyes and that bone-chilling smile were enough to freeze her blood. It stared straight at her, like a predator watching its prey. Before she could even realize what was happening, the creature was right in her face. The second its cold touch hit her cheek, the lights vanished, and total darkness took over. So, maybe stick to showers tonight? And hey, hit that subscribe button to keep the lights on. Trust me, the next adventure is even wilder, and it's way more fun if we watch it together. Ever see a pair of eyes staring at you through the gap of a grocery store freezer? Trust me, if you're into true scary stories, after hearing this you are never going to Target alone at night again. So, it's late at night at the Grand Rapids Target. I'm the only one in the aisle, living through a real-life horror story. I'm grabbing ice cream, and I look through the shelves and see a creepy guy in a ski mask staring dead at me from the stockroom side. Before I could even react, he slams a whole row of frozen boxes right against the glass. This stalker encounter completely freaked me out. I ran to grab an employee, but when we got back, the masked man was gone, vanished. I thought I was safe, but I had no idea this shopping nightmare was just getting started. If you want to survive your next grocery run, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss part 2. Trust me, you need to hear what happened in the parking lot. It's the dead of night. A red car is tearing down a lonely, silent road. Nothing but the low hum of the engine. The guy behind the wheel looks exhausted, but maybe that's actually fear in his eyes. Suddenly, a girl appears out of nowhere. She's standing right in front of the car, staring him down with a gaze that freezes your blood. Before he can even react, it's over. Crash. The car is totally destroyed, bleeding and dazed. He somehow pulls himself out of the wreckage. He looks up and freezes. It's her, that same girl. She's standing at the edge of the woods, beckoning him. Like he's under a spell, he chases after her, running deep into the dark forest. He finally catches up to her and wraps his arms around her, holding her tight. She feels so familiar, but then her body starts melting away in his arms. That beautiful face rots instantly, revealing a hideous, screaming skeleton. He opens his mouth to scream, only to realize he's not in the woods anymore. He's lying inside a fresh, open grave, clutching a rotting corpse against his chest. The truth is, he never made it to the grave. In reality, his car is wrapped around a tree by the side of the road. His broken body is lying motionless on the hood. The chase, the hug, it was all just a final, twisted hallucination as he died. But was that grave just a trick of the mind? Or is the afterlife starting right there, in that cold, dark hole? Phew, lucky we weren't in that car, right? Look, don't get scared all by yourself. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button. That way, I'll be right here with you for the next nightmare. You need a buddy when things get spooky. She looked at me like I wasn't even a person, just a dead body she found. That's when I realized I was living a true horror story. In 6 years as a trainer, I've seen some weird stuff, but nothing like Rachel. She walked onto the gym floor and stared right into my soul. While walking on the treadmill, she kept whispering to herself, "You look exactly like him." I tried to ignore this creepy encounter, but then she bursts into the men's locker room screaming my name like a total maniac. When security finally grabbed her, a photo fell out of her hoodie. I looked at it, and to my surprise, the guy in the picture looked exactly like me. And on the back, in shaky handwriting, it said, "He left me, but you can't leave again. The cops took this psycho stalker away." But the way she smiled at me through the police car window. I still sleep with the lights on. Don't want a psycho ex coming after you? Smash that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you're gonna need the backup. I was alone in the waiting room, no sound, just enjoying the silence. And then, I felt this hot breath right on the back of my neck. It was a complete gym nightmare. I turned around, and there was this scary guy drenched in sweat, standing very close. He growled, "Need space?" I said no, tried to move away, but he didn't move. He started circling me, like a predator looking for food. I told him to back off, but he blocked my path. He yelled, "You're wasting my time." I tried to run, but he grabbed my arm arms so hard, I could hear bones breaking. By God, security came running. But as the police handcuffed him, the officer whispered to me, "Madam, you're not the first. This guy has attacked women into other gyms. He's gone now, but sometimes when I look in the mirror, I think he's still standing behind me, still looking over your shoulder. Forget him. Just find the subscribe button and press it like this. I promise I won't twist your arm." Ever sat across from a guy who's acting totally normal, while you are slowly realizing he's got a piece of his last victim in his pocket? This is pure nightmare fuel. I was pulling the night shift at a small clinic in the Catskills during a brutal blizzard. This guy stumbles in, soaked in blood, claiming he hit a deer on Route 17. I started cleaning him up, but the vibe was off. The blood was too thick, too dark. It wasn't a deer's. I locked myself in the exam room, heart hammering, when I heard his voice through the door. "Calm, casual," he said. "She called me a freak, so I couldn't let her walk away alive." He sat there, right outside my door, describing his unsolved crime and how the snow would hide her body until spring. He eventually left, but he left a gift on the floor. I turned on my flashlight and it was a frozen human ear with a silver stud earring still in it. This is one of those creepy stories that makes you check your locks twice. Needless to say, I'm all ears for your theories in the comments, as long as they stay attached to your head. Toss a like if you're staying inside tonight, and subscribe to keep the creeps off your porch. We all think kids just have wild imaginations, right? Well, ignoring 5-year-old Charlie that night was the biggest mistake of my life. He kept whispering to me, "Dad, someone is in my closet." I laughed it off, thinking it was just kid stuff. To calm him down, I slid the closet door open. At first, just hanging clothes, but then I looked closer. Hiding right behind the hamper were two human eyes staring straight at me. Not a ghost, a grown man, crouched down like he was hunting. My blood went cold. I didn't scream, I just grabbed the kid and bolted, because I knew, even though that door was closed, we weren't safe. "So, you checking your closet tonight? If you're too scared, just hit subscribe. We can handle the trauma together." A girl was heading home on the bus after work. The whole place was completely empty. Well, except for this woman sitting near her, just staring her down. There was a guy sitting right next to the woman too. The girl kept looking away, feeling super awkward, but the woman wouldn't stop staring. It was getting creepy, and she was starting to really freak out. At the next stop, a new guy got on, tall dude. He sat in the seat next to the girl. The weird thing was, the staring woman didn't even glance at the new passenger. She just kept her eyes locked on the girl, which made her even more terrified. The guy sitting next to the woman didn't move or look up once. The girl tried to ignore it, but every time she stole a glance, that strange woman was still staring right at her. When the bus hit the next station, the tall guy in the trench coat behind her stood up to leave, but suddenly, he grabbed the girl's arm hard. As soon as the doors opened, he literally dragged her off the bus. The doors shut, the bus drove off, and she was left standing there alone with the stranger. She started screaming, totally panicking, but the guy tried to calm her down and said, "I just saved your life. I didn't mean to scare you. That woman staring at you on the bus, she was actually dead." The guy next to her was just propping up the body. Anyway, don't just stare like that lady on the bus. Go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button. Otherwise, you never know who might be sitting next to you on your next ride home. I thought it was my boyfriend's family. I didn't realize I was the guest of honor at a terrifying cult encounter until they tried to force that ring on my finger. Tyler took me to his family's farmhouse deep in the Ozarks for New Year's. The vibe was rancid from the second we pulled up. His mom was stroking my hair. His uncle was leering at me like I was a piece of meat. It was so disturbing. Then came the cake. "Welcome to the family," written in blood red frosting. Tyler's father pulled out a black ring and shouted, "Put it on." I tried to run, but they grabbed me. Tyler wasn't the man I loved anymore. He was a stranger, shouting that I was embarrassing him. I didn't think twice when I saw a fork on the table. I jammed it straight into Tyler's eye and bolted for the car. I'm safe now, but I can still hear his father screaming that I'm already part of the family, whether I like it or not. This is one of the scariest stories I've ever told. And that, guys, is why I'm staying single this year. If you think your in-laws are nice, then hit the subscribe button and share with a friend. Were you scared scared for some reason too? I never thought my entire life would be trashed over a $6 soda, but here we are in one of those scary stories you never think will happen to you. Me and my friends were just being dumb. We had this genius plan to get free refills by ordering water and dumping it out. We thought we were slick until the manager caught us red-handed. I panicked so hard I jumped in the car and literally left my friends behind. But the manager blocked me. I'm revving the engine, laying on the horn, and he just won't budge. That's when I made a choice in this true scary story that I'll be paying for the rest of my life. Look, subscribing to this channel is way safer than fast food horror. At least the cops won't come for you here. Smash that like button and stay tuned for the next story. And if you want to hear the next part of this one, let us know in the comments. Stay alert. It's the middle of the night, a total blizzard outside, and my dog Cooper suddenly stops barking and just freezes. He's staring right past me, straight into the pitch black woods. I was deep in the Adirondack Mountains, just me and Cooper, trying to get some wilderness survival experience. I really needed to get away from the city for a bit, you know? Just some peace and quiet. But while I'm sitting there by the fire, I catch a shadow behind the trees, a real creepy encounter. This guy steps out, looks normal enough in a plain jacket, but his eyes, they were pure true horror. My voice was shaking, but I told him I was armed. He just gave me this cold, dead laugh and said, "Is this how you treat a guest?" And then he just vanished into the dark. I scrambled into the tent and zipped it up tight, and then the silence broke. I could hear heavy breathing right on the other side of the fabric, a truly chilling experience. Cooper started losing it, barking at the shadow through the tent wall, sensing some kind of paranormal activity. What I saw outside the next morning is the reason I'm never, ever camping alone again. This scary camping story still haunts my dreams. Look, if you don't want to wake up to random footprints outside your tent, you should probably hit that subscribe button. Consider it a digital lucky charm. Trust me, the next terrifying encounter is even crazier. See you in the next part. Imagine the guy you've been vibing with on Snapchat, the one you think is your dream guy, turns out to be your actual school principal. Nancy really thought she'd found the one, but when she went to meet him in that park at dusk, her heart literally stopped. Standing there in a creepy, giant purple grimace shake horror suit, he offered her a meal, like everything was totally normal. Why the costume? And did she even make it out of those woods in one of those creepy Snapchat stories? This internet horror is a literal nightmare. And the truth in the next part will change how you look at your school forever. Maybe think twice before adding a stranger on Snap, but definitely hit that subscribe button for more horror shorts. It won't put you in danger, but it'll definitely make things more interesting. See you in the next one with a brand new scare. I'm 25 now, but I still wake up in a cold sweat every New Year's Eve, seeing the blood on that white sheet. This is one of those true scary stories that stays with you forever. I was 7, my brother Mason was 4. Our parents were at a gala downtown, and Chloe, our college student sitter, was watching us. Everything was perfect, until we heard a woman scream in the hallway and the sound of shattering glass. Chloe went pale, but she didn't panic. She grabbed us and whispered, "New game. We're bathtub ninjas. Hide behind the curtain and don't make a sound." It felt like a scene from a horror movie. Then, a massive thud hit our front door. Chloe stood her ground, a 19-year-old girl protecting us from a psycho with a meat cleaver named Silas Thorne. She led him away, sacrificing herself so we could stay hidden. We survived. But this creepy babysitter encounter changed everything. Silas wasn't looking for money. He was looking for us. Moral of the story? I'm never leaving the bathtub again. If you love hearing disturbing true stories, hit that like button and stick around for more. At least here, the only thing we're cutting is the tension. Never stop at a deserted gas station in rural Nebraska at midnight, especially on Christmas Eve. My girlfriend Chloe and I were on a long road trip. I went inside to pay, but the place was a total ghost town. No clerk, nothing. Then I saw him, a man in a heavy coat, knocking on Chloe's window, staring at her with these empty, dead eyes. We bolted, but miles later, we found a tracker hidden under our wheel well. The police said the workers were missing. If this story gave you the chills, drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Seriously, check your wheel wells. If I had locked my car door 1 second later, I probably wouldn't be alive to share this true scary story. I still get chills just thinking about this Target horror story. I just got into my car in the dark. Target parking lot, right? And I look at the white sedan parked next to me. My heart literally stopped. It was him, the creepy stalker with the ski mask on, crawling from the back seat to the front. He stares right into my soul through the window, then jumps out and violently yanks on my door handle. This stranger danger moment was terrifying. Thank God I hit the lock button. I slammed the car into reverse, and he literally grabbed onto my window, running alongside the car. It was a total near-death experience. I floored it and barely got away. But what I saw in my rearview mirror as I sped off, that's the part of this night shift horror that really haunts me. I floored it and barely escaped. But these creepy stories don't end there. If you want to see what happened next, smash that like button and subscribe for more true horror stories animated. Spending Christmas alone during a Michigan blizzard sounds peaceful, until the paranormal activity feelings turn into an urban legend. It was 9 p.m., a single, sharp knock at my front door. No one should have been out in that whiteout. I peeked around the corner to the back door, and my heart just stopped. A pair of eyes was staring right back at me through the glass. Seconds later, the door shattered. I hid behind the couch, paralyzed, listening to his wet boots hitting my floorboards. Welp. That's officially enough internet for me today. I'm gonna go sleep with the lights on. Hit that subscribe button. Misery loves company, right? Savannah was packed with people, but this guy was a true horror story, walking around that only me and my friend Liam could actually see. We were hanging out in Savannah, Georgia, just doing the tourist thing. Right in the middle of the day, we spotted this mysterious stranger in a sharp, crisp wedding suit, but his movement was straight up trippy. He walked like a broken puppet, all jerky and weird. The wildest part? No matter what part of town we hit up, he'd show up 5 minutes later. He was just gliding through the crowd, but everyone else acted like he was invisible. It felt like a massive glitch in the Matrix, like he didn't even belong in our world. But here's the kicker on our last night. I pulled back the curtain and saw him. He was standing at the end of the alley, dead still, just staring straight at my window. That's when I knew for a fact he wasn't human. This scary true story is about to get way more intense, and trust me, you aren't ready for what comes next. That creepy groom is low-key terrified of the like button, so tap it real quick to keep yourself safe. Our investigation into this paranormal activity is just getting started, so make sure to subscribe. See ya in the next part. I thought renting a remote cabin in the Poconos was the perfect way to escape the burnout. Just me and my best friends, Jake and Mason. We were gaming until totally crashed. But then, I woke up to a scary true story coming to life. I heard these slow, deliberate steps in the living room. I figured it was just the guys, but the next morning, their faces went dead pale. They never got up once. We checked the front door, and every single lock was wide open. This creepy encounter was far from over. Someone had been pacing around us all night, and they were still out there, somewhere in the trees. So, yeah, I'm definitely double checking my locks tonight. If you're also currently hiding under your blankets, hit that like and subscribe. We can be terrified together. Stay safe and maybe check your windows, okay? My niece comes running down the stairs, sobbing, saying, "Uncle, someone's in my room." And he whispered goodnight. I thought she was dreaming. I was wrong, dead wrong. I went up to check, and the house was dead silent. But right at her door, this raspy, distorted voice comes from the dark. Aren't they just so special? My throat went dry. I peeked inside, and standing by her bed was this freakishly tall shadow, like 7 feet tall. He waved at me like he was playing peekaboo. I didn't wait a second. I grabbed the kids, no shoes, nothing, and ran into the street, because whatever was in that house wasn't human. After seeing a guest that tall, I'm out. Hit that subscribe button if you want to stay safe behind your screen, hopefully. Middle of the night, I get this feeling someone is watching me in the dark. I opened my eyes, and I was not ready for this. Standing right at the foot of my bed was this 8-year-old kid frozen like a statue. No emotion, no words, just this dead stare. I stammered out, "What's wrong?" No answer. Then, slowly, he brings his hand out from behind his back, and he's gripping the biggest kitchen knife we have. He takes a step toward me, and his eyes looked sad, like he didn't want to do it, but he had to. That's when I knew this might actually be how I die. Imagine waking up to that. Save yourself the heart attack and hit subscribe, because the next story is even wilder. How heartless do you have to be to literally carve up your boss over something so stupid? I couldn't just sit there and watch, so I straight up jumped through the window to stop this true crime scene from getting any worse. She was hacking away at her manager like a total maniac. There was blood everywhere in what looked like a McDonald's horror story. I grabbed her, but she was so covered in it that she was literally slipping out of my hands while I tried to pin her down. When I finally got her restrained and asked why, she just cold-bloodedly said, "She sent me home early. A life ended in this scary drive-thru. Over 1 hour of work. Honestly, look around next time you're getting food, because this was a real-life nightmare." And hey, to help us uncover more of these twisted mysteries, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep this journey going together. Everyone thinks the night shift is chill, right? Well, at 2:15 a.m. in a closed gym, I found out why scary night shift stories are real. The place was under renovation, just dust and hanging wires everywhere. Suddenly, a noise from the locker room. I shine my flashlight inside and freeze. There are bloody scratch marks smeared all over the metal lockers. And on the floor, between the broken tiles, a severed hand, fingers still twitching. I couldn't even breathe. Then, from the shadows behind a broken wall, a raspy voice whispered they made a mistake locking me in. I point my light, and there he is covered in white dust, holding a rusty, jagged saw, smiling like a demon. He sprinted right at me. I barely made it out and locked the door, but that laugh, it still echoes in my head every time I turn off the lights. Are you hiding under the covers yet? It's safe here. Join the squad and subscribe. That guy with the saw can't get us in the comments. I woke up, checked my phone gallery, and my heart literally stopped. There was a full-on photo of me sleeping, even though I was supposed to be home alone. I live in a small house in the Chicago suburbs. Well, at least I thought I lived alone. For a few days, things just felt off. My phone charger would be unplugged, the door handle felt loose, and I even found muddy footprints on the floor. I tried to tell myself I was just being paranoid, but one night, I peeked through the crack of the basement door. Right there, in the pitch black, a shadow was just standing still like a statue. It was a total home invasion nightmare. When the cops finally hauled him out in handcuffs, I found out this creepy intruder had been living in my basement for an entire month. He was right under me the whole time, perfectly silent. Every night, while I was dead to the world, he'd sneak upstairs and stand right over my bed. But when the police checked his bag and found photos of other people, the scary true story took a dark turn. Was I actually going to be his next victim? This horror story is far from over. Having a stranger in the basement is terrifying, but missing the next story is just a bad move. Hit that subscribe button real quick. Let's face these nightmares together. Stay safe.
It was almost dark. I was driving back from the city on a deserted road. Both fatigue and sleep were consuming me. Suddenly, the car stopped with a loud noise. I got out and saw a flat tire. I lit a torch and looked around, and saw an old, dilapidated house. The dense forest around the house made it even more mysterious. I was scared to see it, but there was no way out. I decided to enter the house to ask for help. I went forward in fear and knocked on the door. After a while, the door opened slightly. An old woman peeked out. Her eyes were shining strangely in the darkness. A fake smile was on her face. "Who is it?" she asked in a broken voice. I told her everything. She told me to come in. As soon as I entered, a damp, old smell hit my nose. In the dim light, I saw two more men. Their eyes were also fierce and hungry. They were looking at me strangely and smiling. My discomfort was growing. The old woman said, "It's been a long night. You must be hungry. Come and have dinner with us." Some food was arranged on the table, vegetable stew and bread. I could smell a musty smell, which was hard to ignore. I tore off a piece of bread, dipped it in the stew and put it in my mouth. The first bite gave me a strange, bitter taste. My body shuddered. It was then that I saw something in the mess on my plate that made my body go cold. It was a piece of a broken human finger. As I looked up, I saw that the whole family was looking at me and grinning horribly. Their teeth were unusually sharp, like those of a carnivorous animal. I instantly understood that I was in terrible danger. As soon as I pushed the chair and stood up, I realized that all my escape routes were blocked. I was counting the hours of death. They were coming towards me. The old woman came to me and said, "Don't worry, from tonight you will also become one of our family." They all started tearing me apart like vultures. I started flailing my arms and legs in agony, but I couldn't catch up with them. There is a room in the old mental hospital in the district. Everyone says it is called Black Room 13 because whoever is admitted there is said to be not like themselves by morning. One night, a new prisoner was brought to the hospital. No one said his name, the paper only said, Subject K. The hospital staff locked him in the black room. The man's eyes were strange, no light fell, no reflection, as if the inside was an infinite void. At 3 in the night, the nurse on duty noticed, the CCTV in Black Room 13 had turned off by itself. She got scared and called the doctor, and the two of them opened the door together. When she went inside, she saw the man was standing facing the wall. But there were strange drawings painted around the wall, dry, but it was clear. These were not human handwriting, the doctor said. When was that drawing drawn? The man slowly turned his head and said, Me, no, you. You all become different people after the night, I just show you the truth. A cold current ran through the nurse. She looked at the door, but saw that there was no door. The door had merged with the wall. The man whispered, "The rules for going out change after entering a dark room." Suddenly the doctor held his head and started screaming, a strange sound in his ears, as if countless people were calling his name at the same time. He realized one thing: these sounds were not outside, come from within himself. The man came forward and whispered in the doctor's ear, "Murder is not always done with a knife. Sometimes, you can kill people by showing them the truth." The nurse tried to close her eyes, but she couldn't close her eyes. The walls of the room were moving, the floor was shaking, it seemed like the room was alive, and it was trying to swallow them both. The next morning, the hospital staff opened the door to the black room and saw, the room was completely empty, no prisoners, nurses, or doctors existed. Only one sentence was written on the wall: a man can never see his own crimes with his own eyes. Late at night, a crematorium in the distance, the body of a dead girl has been burned. The fire is still burning and a calm river flows beside it. Photographer Ravi came to take pictures of the silence and flames of the crematorium. Old Dom Haripada warned him, "Don't stay here at this unseasonable time. The night is not good." Ravi didn't listen. He took his camera and headed towards the river. Suddenly, he saw a woman wearing a white sari standing by the water's edge. Ravi wanted to capture that strangely beautiful scene on camera. But as soon as he looked into the camera's viewfinder, he saw that there was no one in the frame. Ravi was surprised to see that the woman was now standing just a few feet away from him. Her face was so strange, her flesh was falling off. Suddenly, she said, "Take a picture of me," and started laughing loudly. Ravi got very scared, the camera fell from his hand. He started running in fear and didn't look back. Deep at night, Robin sat alone in an old dilapidated house in the dim moonlight. Outside, the gusty wind and the constant barking of dogs created an eerie atmosphere. Suddenly, a sound came from the room above, as if something was being dragged across the floor. Robin froze in fear. He knew that no one lived in this house. Gathering his courage, he slowly climbed the stairs. Each step seemed to make his heart beat faster. Entering the upper room, he saw footprints on the dusty floor, but no one was anywhere in the room. Suddenly, he felt as if someone was standing behind him. A cold, damp hand fell on his shoulder. Robin screamed and turned around to see a silent shadow figure staring at him. The shadow figure's eyes were like deep black holes. Robin lost consciousness. The next morning, he was found unconscious in front of the broken-down house. There was a look of terror on his face. He never looked back at the house, but every night, he felt the touch of that cold hand and the gaze of those black eyes that haunted him. For a new twist every day, subscribe so you never miss out. An old village fair was being held. When Rini reached the last shop of the fair, she saw an old woman with a black veil on her face like a shadow. There were various old toys in the shop, and in the middle was a doll wrapped in dirty cloth. The old woman whispered, "If you take this doll to someone's house, they won't have to live alone." Rini bought the doll with a smile. She looked at the old woman's face and saw a happy smile. Rini came home and placed the doll next to her bed. She ate and fell asleep. She was awakened by a light noise at night. When she opened her eyes, she saw that the doll was no longer on the table, but sitting on her chest. The doll's eyes were red, and there was an unusual smile on the corner of her mouth. Rini tried to scream in terror, but no sound came out of her throat. The doll's cold hand was placed on her mouth, and then that terrible voice was heard, "I'm very hungry." When Rini didn't open the door in the morning, people broke the door and entered. They saw that Rini was not in the house, only the doll was sitting on the bed, with blood stains on her lips and tangled hair. The police officer Tunmei found nothing there, so the doll was kept at the police station as evidence. At night, the officer heard the child's laughter from inside the locker, and when he opened the door, he saw that the doll was gone. The next morning, his daughter found something in the yard. "Dad, look at this. What a beautiful doll." Tunmei looked and saw the same doll, with blood stains on its eyes and tangled hair on its face. Out of fear, the officer locked the doll in the cupboard. He suddenly woke up at night. She heard noises coming from her daughter's room. She ran and saw her daughter sitting on the floor, scratching her cheek. She was smearing the doll's lips with blood, and saying something like, "I'm very hungry." No one was found in the morning. The doll was just sitting on the floor of the house, with fresh blood stains on its face and blood floating around. It is said that many years ago, a puppeteer in the village lost his daughter. Then he used black magic to imprison the daughter's soul in a doll. Even though the daughter's soul was imprisoned in it, it did not find peace. No one lives in the house where the doll goes. Even today, that old woman sits in the last shop at the fair. In front of her is an old magical doll wrapped in cloth, which smiles softly when someone approaches. Once upon a time, there was a quiet village called Shamnagar. Next to this village was a deep forest called Kalitaha Forest. The people of the village believed that at night, a mysterious flute could be heard in this forest. This melody was so enchanting that anyone who heard it once could not return home. It was said that after hearing the melody of that flute, people would go deep into the forest and never return. The elders of the village used to say that this flute was played by a beautiful woman, who lives deep in the forest and draws those who show disrespect to the forest to her. There was a young man named Suman in Shamnagar. He was very curious and a bit adventurous. Despite the prohibitions of the elders of the village, he had a strong desire to know the secret of the flute's melody. One full moon night, when the moon was peeking out from behind the clouds, the magical flute melody came from the direction of the forest. Hearing the melody, Suman's mind somehow became uneasy. He could no longer hold himself back. Without saying anything to anyone, he took the flashlight in his hand and started walking towards the Kalitaha forest. As the melody came closer, Suman felt a strange pull in his mind. He felt as if someone was beckoning him. He started going deeper into the forest. The trees seemed to be getting thicker, and even the moonlight could not penetrate. Suddenly the flute melody stopped. Suman started trembling with fear. He started looking around with the flashlight. Suddenly, he saw a dim shape in front of him in the shadows of the trees. It looked like a female figure, with a flute in her hand. Her eyes were shining in the darkness. Suman froze in fear. He felt as if his whole body had gone cold. The female figure smiled a magical smile and started coming towards Suman. Suman tried to run, but his feet seemed to be stuck to the ground. He could not move. Women came very close to Suman. The melody of her flute sounded again, but this time the melody was more intense, more hypnotic. Suman felt as if his body was becoming light and he was floating in the void. The next morning, when the people of the village went out in search of Suman, they saw Suman's flashlight lying on the edge of the forest, but Suman could not be found anymore. Since then, the people of Shamnagar were even more afraid to go past the Kalitaha forest at night. And even today, on the night of the full moon, the melody of that magical flute can be heard, which still drags some people deep into the forest. Suddenly, an old mirror fell from the arch to the ground with a loud noise. Robin almost screamed. He thought he saw a vague shadow in the broken glass of the mirror. The figure of a person, but his face was not clear. He began to tremble with fear. He understood that the villagers were not lying. There was really something in this house. Just as he was thinking of quickly leaving the house, a female voice was heard behind him. "Listen to me before you go, young man." Robin froze in fear. He slowly turned back. He saw a tall female figure standing in front of him. She was wearing an old-fashioned sari, her hair was loose, and flames of fire were coming out of her eyes. Robin saw that the female statue was floating in the air. The female statue began to say, "I am one of the villagers of the landlord Harendra Narayan. My name was Sudha. He took away everything from us, our honor, our lives. I breathed my last in this house, and my soul did not find peace." Robin listened in silence. Sudha's soul began to say, "My only peace will be when all the injustices of this landlord's house are exposed, and all the wealth of Harendra Narayan is returned to the poor villagers." Saying this, Sudha's soul disappeared. Robin began to tremble with fear and surprise. He understood that the mystery of this house was not only physical, but also had a tragic history behind it. Robin came out of the landlord's house that night. He knew that his research would not be limited to the pages of history. He would also reveal the truth behind this landlord's house. The next morning, he called all the people of the village and narrated the real story behind the landlord's house. The people of the village were surprised to hear his words. They understood that this was not just a ghost story, but a story of deep injustice and injustice behind it. Then Robin, with the help of the villagers, found all the documents of the landlord's house and returned the lost property of the villagers. The old dilapidated condition of the landlord's house was no longer there. The villagers all cleaned the house together and built a school there. Sudha's soul finally found peace. No more crying could be heard at night. Thus began a new chapter for the villagers. A dilapidated, broken house on the edge of a dark village. No one has lived there for many years. It is said that one night the entire family was hacked to death in this house. A brave young man entered the house out of curiosity. The broken door creaked in the dim light. Suddenly he saw dried blood stains on the wall, still glowing fresh red. From behind came suppressed cries and moans, then a whisper, "We were waiting for you." As soon as the young man turned his head, he saw the whole family staring at him with their faces cut off, their hands covered in blood. Suddenly the door closed with a loud bang. The young man was nowhere to be found. For a new story, subscribe so you never miss out. In a small town in Japan, an old woman named Kagami lived alone in her old house. The house was on the edge of town, surrounded by large trees. Kagami's house was a mystery to the people of the area, because strange things often happened there. The locals said that a strange power lived in the house. One evening, young photographer Kenji heads to Kagami's house to take some strange pictures with his camera. He has heard that the figure of a woman, believed to be Kagami's dead daughter, is sometimes seen on the roof of the house. As Kenji approaches the house, he feels a strange chill run down his spine. He entered the house through the back, where there was a broken window. After entering, Kenji found the house dark and dusty. He turned on his flashlight and walked forward. Suddenly, he saw a mirror at the end of a long corridor. The mirror was old and broken, but it had strange powers. When Kenji looked into the mirror, he did not see himself. Instead, he saw a young girl in the mirror, whose eyes were deep and empty. The girl looked at Kenji and smiled softly, and her smile was frightening. Kenji wanted to step back in fear, but he couldn't move his body. The girl reached out from inside the mirror and started to approach Kenji. Kenji felt his body go cold and his soul was being pulled away. At that moment, there was a loud noise from outside. Kagami's pet black cat jumped through the window and looked into the mirror. The cat's eyes were shining, as if it was seeing something invisible. The girl disappeared from the mirror and Kenji regained control of his body. He quickly left the house and never looked back at Kagami's house. Later, he learned that Kagami's daughter had committed suicide standing in front of a mirror and her soul was trapped in that mirror. It was Kagami's black cat that trapped the girl's soul so that she could not harm anyone. Kenji never dared to take pictures in the old house late at night again. He realized that some secrets should remain secrets forever. For a new story every day, subscribe so you never miss out. Believe it or not, there are places in the world where history and the present become one. I am a writer, and in search of a new story, I once went to a remote village. The village is not abandoned, but it lacks vitality. There was a huge, ancient stone well in the middle of the village. People used to say that this well suddenly dried up about 100 years ago, and since then a kind of sadness has descended on the village. Out of curiosity, I went to see the well during the day. The mouth of the well was tightly closed with brickwork, with only a small round hole in the middle. It was said that many people who looked through it have seen human faces inside. I shone a torchlight and saw that the bottom of the well was completely dry, just a pile of broken bricks. But as soon as I went near the well, something caught my ear, a very, very soft whisper. The sound was so light that at first it seemed like the wind playing. But as I listened carefully, I realized that it was the sound of many people talking, together, but so indistinctly that nothing could be understood. As if many people were talking together in muffled voices, and that sound was coming from deep within the well. I listened to this whisper day after day. One night, I dared to go to the well again. It was almost 1 a.m. The surroundings were completely silent. This time I strained my ears to the opening in the well's mouth. In the silent environment, this time the whisper was very clear. But the words were so fast and jumbled that nothing could be understood, as if they were trying to quickly finish the words of their last moments of life. I held my mobile phone to the well's mouth to record. The next morning, when I put on my headphones and listened to the recorded audio, my body froze with fear. Amidst the whispering, one word was clearly understood: no, break, the brakes are not holding. I'm coming, right? With that, the sound stopped, and then the random whispering resumed. I asked an old man in the village about the secret of the well. The old man sighed and said, the well didn't provide water, but this well showed the villagers their future. But it didn't show, it heard, the last words people said before they died. Hearing the old man's words gave me goosebumps. That meant these whispers were the last cries of the dead. I went to the well again at night. This time my curiosity overcame my fear. I was trying to find specific dates and place names among the whispering, paying attention. Suddenly, I heard a voice of intense pain. Hey Arnav, drive slowly. My name. I froze. Arnav, whose voice is this? My head started spinning. I pressed my ears, and just then, out of the whispers, a single voice became very clear. The voice was exactly like my own. He shouted in clear, just 3 more seconds. Truck ahead. It's over. Then came the familiar, painful sound, and then all was silence. It was my own voice from the depths of the well, telling me the story of my death. I fled Barot village that night. I know, I have heard my own future. I now live with one question every moment. Do I have more than 3 seconds left? Or am I already one of the dead whispering inside the well? Ian got off the last train late at night. The station was empty, the surroundings were drenched in fog. Unable to find a rickshaw or car to return home, he set off on foot. After walking a little distance, he saw a little girl standing alone on the side of the road. She was wearing a red frock. Ian was surprised and asked, Girl, what are you doing here alone so late at night? The girl stared blankly, not answering. Ian was taken aback. He said, Come on, I'll take you ahead. Which way is your house? The girl raised her finger and pointed to a dark alley ahead. Ian took the girl's hand and entered the alley. At the end of the alley was an old house. The girl pointed to the house with her finger and ran inside. Ian breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the gate of the house, his blood running cold. On the gate, a rusty nameplate read, Roy Bari. And just below it, a dusty photo of the little girl in the red frock. Under the photo, it was written, Rita Roy, died, 1972. Subscribe for more story. Have you ever felt that a still picture or portrait is following you? I'm not saying her eyes are moving, I'm saying her inner feelings are changing. Isn't it terrifying? My story is about a portrait of a woman I bought from an old art gallery. The Lady in White. The picture was so beautiful that I paid a huge price for it and hung it in the drawing room of my flat. For the first few days, everything was normal. But after a while, I noticed that whenever I didn't look at the portrait, I felt as if the woman was watching me. At night, when all the lights in the flat were turned off, it seemed as if her white dress was shining even brighter in the dark room. One day, around 2 in the night, I got up to get some water. As soon as I entered the drawing room, my eyes fell on the portrait. I shuddered. The woman's expression had changed. During the day, she had a calm, gentle smile. But at night, a suppressed annoyance or hatred played at the corners of her lips. I told myself, it was a play of light, it was my mistake. But it wasn't. Every night this change became more obvious. It was as if he was silently judging me. Every failure, every secret sin of mine was caught in his eyes. One night I was working on my laptop. I felt as if there was someone else in the room. As I looked at the portrait, I saw the woman's eyes were now closed. Completely closed. Although I was sure, her eyes were open during the day. It created a psychological pressure. Can someone feel someone so intensely even with their eyes closed? My hands and feet went cold with fear. I quickly turned on the light. As soon as the light on, I saw, the woman's eyes had opened again, but her face was no longer calm. Tears in her eyes. No, not tears, like dark, black blood streaks running down her cheeks. My chest heaved. I screamed and rushed forward to take down the picture. As I reached behind the canvas to take the picture down, I discovered the real, terrible truth. There was a note taped to the back of the canvas. Written in trembling handwriting was a single sentence: "When you're afraid, I'll see you. And when you cry, I'll laugh." For a moment, I thought the woman in the portrait was smiling. But the smile wasn't from the portrait, but from right behind me. I quickly turned around and saw an old photo of me hanging on the wall of my flat, with my own bloodshot eyes and that terrible, suppressed smile at the corners of my lips. In fact, the portrait didn't just see me, it contained my fear and reflected it back in a distorted form. And now, that fear had infected all the pictures in my house. An ancient village, surrounded by dense forests, the name of the village is Rudrapur. Although it is quiet during the day, it is like a different world when night falls. People hear stories of a ghost. It is said that he comes out on the night of the new moon, and anyone who catches his eye is left defenseless. Once, a woodcutter named Rutten went to the forest to cut wood near the village. It was a new moon day. Rutten could not return on time. When night fell, the villagers became worried about him. Rutten's wife, Radha, became restless. It was almost midnight. Suddenly, a terrifying scream came from the village. The brave youth of the village ran towards the forest with flares in their hands. They saw a terrifying scene. Rutten lies dead under a tree, his blood drained from his body. And next to him is a shadowy figure, whose eyes are like burning embers. The villagers freeze in fear. They realize that this is the ghost. The ghost looked at them and smiled a terrible smile, and then disappeared into the darkness of the deep forest. From then on, the people of Rudrapur became even more cautious. No one left their homes on the night of the new moon. The fear of the ghost never left them. Even today, the elders of Rudrapur tell this story, and they say, if you ever pass by the forest on the night of the new moon, be careful. The ghost may be waiting for you. For a new story every day, subscribe so you never miss out. Rohan was returning home in the middle of the night. The quiet road of a deserted village covered in thick fog. Suddenly, he saw a woman wearing a white sari standing on the side of the road. She was waving her hand and asking for a lift. Seeing a woman alone so late at night made Rohan feeling bad. He stopped the car and opened the door. The woman sat in the back seat without saying anything. Rohan asked, "Where are you going?" The woman simply pointed to a bend in the road ahead and said, "The house next to that bend." Rohan's body started to tremble as he drove. He froze in fear as he looked in the rearview mirror. The back seat was completely empty. He slammed on the brakes and looked back. There was no one. He started driving again, trembling with fear. Just then, a cold, whispering voice came from the empty back seat. "Are you scared? I haven't come down yet." For a new story every day, subscribe so you never miss out. No one was afraid to throw a stick in the river, near the crematorium at the end of the village, even during the day. But Rohan was poor. One new moon night, when it was pitch dark all around, Rohan sat down with a stick in the river next to the cremation ground. In the distance, a fire was still burning brightly. All around him were the chirping of crickets and the gurgling sound of the river. Suddenly, his rod felt a strong pull. So strong that the rod almost flew out of his hand. After much struggling, Rohan was amazed to see what he pulled out of the water. A huge silvery fish. He had never seen such a big fish in his life. Overjoyed, he took the fish and headed home. He left the fish in the kitchen and went to get the bowl. But when he looked back, he saw that the fish was gone. In its place lay a piece of burnt wood from the cremation pyre. And just then, a cold, muffled cry came from the kitchen. "Put me back in the water, it's burning me so much." Rohan fled the village that night. No one ever saw him again. For a new story every day, subscribe so you never miss out. There were rumors about that dilapidated landlord's house on the edge of town. People said that a disgruntled spirit still roamed there. My friend Roni and I entered the house one evening. It was dark and freezing cold inside. We climbed up to the second floor, walking over a layer of dust. Suddenly we heard a strange noise. We were scared. As I followed the sound, I heard someone singing. As I peeked through the door, I saw a dim female figure standing by the broken window. Her figure was not clear in the moonlight. Roni said in a trembling voice, "Who?" The female figure slowly turned towards us. Her face was expressionless, but her eyes seemed to be burning. A chilly wind blew past us. The female statue looked at us and said while crying, "I didn't like being alone, but I won't let you go anywhere else." We don't remember how we escaped that night. But I felt someone's presence beside to me at night. For a new story every day, please subscribe so you never miss out. It was late at night. Rahim was walking home alone past the crematorium. The moon was covered in clouds, and there was an eerie silence all around. Suddenly, a strong smell of rotting flesh hit his nose. And just then, he heard a rustling sound from under the big banyan tree. Rahim gathered his courage and looked in that direction, his blood running cold. A tall, bony figure stands in the darkness of the trees. Its fiery red eyes glow in the darkness and a hideous smile is on its face. It is scratching the bark of the tree with its long, dirty nails. Before Rahim could understand anything, the statue leapt towards him with a loud, inhuman scream. The next morning, the villagers found only Rahim's torn clothes and a pool of blood on the roadside. No trace of his body was found. For a new story every day, subscribe so you never miss out. Mother took the meat broth from the bowl on the table and put it on a plate. The broth was unusually red. Rohan's body tingled as a sweet, stringy smell hit his nose. His mother and father were eating the meat with demonic joy. The red broth was flowing down their faces. It looked like blood. "Why aren't you eating?" Father asked. Rohan, fearfully, stirred a piece of meat with a fork. And then his blood froze. Something like a human finger was sticking out of the piece of meat, and a familiar ring was on it. This was his younger sister Riya's ring. Riya had been missing since yesterday. Rohan was about to scream, but just then his mother looked at him and smiled calmly. She said, "Don't worry about Riya. She's with us." Want to keep your mind guessing? Hit subscribe and ring the bell for your daily dose of twists. Today, I stayed up a little late on my way home from work. Suddenly, the bike stopped with a loud noise on the road. It was pitch black all around, only the dim light of the crematorium could be seen in the distance. There was no network on the phone. Seeing no other way, I started pushing the bike forward. After going a little way, I heard a strange sound. It sounded like someone was chewing something loudly. At the same time, a strong rotten smell filled his nose. I gathered my courage and turned on the flashlight on my mobile phone. As soon as I turned on the light, I saw someone sitting under a palm tree by the roadside. A tall, thin face. As soon as the light fell, he looked up. My blood ran cold. The man's eyes were bright red, and fresh blood was dripping from the corners of his lips. His long, sharp teeth were clearly visible. The man smiled and said, "I didn't feel like eating alone. It's good that you came." Want to keep your mind guessing? Hit subscribe and ring the bell for your daily dose of twists. I've been driving on this stretch of highway for 4 hours, but the GPS says I've only gone 2 miles. It started when I passed a broken down red pickup truck on the shoulder. I was in a hurry, so I didn't stop to help. 10 minutes later, I passed the exact same red truck. I thought I was just tired. Just highway hypnosis. 10 minutes after that, I passed it a third time. But this time, the truck looked different. It was rusted, the tires were flat, and the windows were smashed in. It looked like it had been rotting there for 30 years. I panicked. I floored the gas, pushing my car to 120. I just wanted to see a new exit. Any exit. Then, the headlights caught the truck for the 4th time. It was a burned-out skeleton of a vehicle now, smoking in the rain. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the man standing next to it. He was holding a cardboard sign that caught my high beams. It didn't ask for a ride. It said, "You should have stopped." My engine died instantly. And as the car rolled to a stop in the pitch black, I heard the passenger door unlock.